fun discussion, right? Last year ago, went to Vegas. I had some bankroll money, right? And what's up, everybody? It's Trey Smith with College Game Time, back at you with a best Heisman Bankroll Bets. Those of you that got a little extra something on the side that you like to put down at the beginning of every college football season, I got a few Heisman contenders with some crazy odds that you might consider throwing a little bit of cash on because it could bring you a massive return. But before we get into it, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment at the end, share it with a friend, and if you're feeling generous, if you want to throw some of that bankroll money at me in College Game Time and support what we're building here, go ahead and leave a super thanks. If not, no worries, but let's get into it. So let me clarify what this is. I am not giving you my top 5 Heisman most likely to win, top 5 most likely to be Heisman winners. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm giving you 5 possible high odds players, basically players that can turn a little amount of money into a lot of amount of money depending on what your bankroll budget is. Some of you it's a couple hundred, some of you it's a few thousand, some of you it's a few dollars. So first, coming in at plus 6,600 is Xavier Worthy. Now, Xavier Worthy is one of the, if not the top lethal weapon, he's definitely a top 2 or 3 all-around weapon in the country. And his numbers prove it. His ability proves it. If his quarterback can stay healthy at Texas, as they're looking to make some noise, as they are every year. But if Quinn Ewers can stay healthy, and I don't know, we'll see what old Arch Manning has if he ends up getting a shot. But I think Xavier Worthy is one to keep an eye on, and particularly at plus 6,600. I mean, even if you got $50, that's $3,000 that you can make off of that $50. Xavier Worthy. The thing to keep in mind is that he's going to have to make some noise in the return game. There's a reason. I don't know what the reason is, but wide receivers don't ever win the Heisman. Well, I know what the reason is. The reason is because if a receiver has that good of a season, typically their quarterback is winning the Heisman. But if you look back at the handful who have won it, Tim Brown, Desmond Howard, Devontae Smith, and I think I'm leaving one out, but all of them on some level were a threat in the return game. So if Xavier Worthy can continue to put up some monster numbers in the receiving game this year, and who knows, maybe it'll be between 2 quarterbacks. That might actually help his case. If it's between, Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. Now, for that to happen, one of those guys would have to get hurt, which you don't ever want to see, but it's also a possibility. But I think he also is going to have to make some noise in the return game. But at plus 6,600, Xavier Worthy, not a bad bet. Okay, coming in for me at number 2 at plus 8,000. In fact, these next 2 are both plus 8,000 odds. The first one I'm going to give you is KJ Jefferson, the quarterback at the University of Arkansas. He's entering his 3rd year as the full-time starter. One note to make about KJ is he is playing in a different offensive system this year, and the offensive system that he will be in probably doesn't tailor to the quarterback's numbers as well as the previous system he was in. He's essentially going from the Kendall Briles veer and shoot to the Dan Enos multiple offense. However, what Dan Enos has shown, particularly the last time he was in Fayetteville, is that he is very good at getting the best out of what a particular quarterback does well. Brandon Allen is a perfect example of that. If you go look at Brandon Allen's career at the University of Arkansas and you see his last season that he played under Dan Enos as his OC and quarterback coach, it was night and day from the previous 3. So that's just something to take into consideration. I do believe Enos is going to tailor what he does this season to what KJ does well, but I also think they're going to be a heavy run team because I believe that is in his heart of hearts what Pittman wants to do, but KJ can run the rock. So he's one of the top QBs in the SEC this year. If Arkansas can just put together that illustrious 10-win season they've been chasing since the Bobby Petrino days, I don't think it's crazy to see KJ Jefferson getting an invite to NYC. Now, something to make note of is that Heisman voters have a history of screwing over Razorback players that should be winning the Heisman, and I'm mainly talking about Darren McFadden. You can't go back to 2006 or 2007 and tell me he shouldn't have at least won one of those trophies, especially when one of the voters coached against him, watched him torch his team for over 300 yards rushing and multiple touchdowns, and didn't even put him on the ballot. But that's a different conversation for a different day. I think KJ Jefferson at plus 8,000, that's not a bad play. It's not a bad play. $20. $20 would win you $25. Would that be $2,000? So my next player on the list is also a plus 8,000 and plays the same position as KJ and also has a double initial first name, and that's DJ Uiagalelei. I apologize if I butchered that. I'm going to call him DJ for the remainder of this video. But the transfer quarterback from Clemson to Oregon State, former number 1 overall. I think he was the number 1 overall recruit in the country. Definitely the top quarterback when he came out of high school. Kind of had just some ups and downs through his time at Clemson, but now he's at Oregon State. And here's what I'm going to tell you about Oregon State. This is a team that could win the Pac-12 this year. I don't even know if I should call them a dark horse, but I will, simply because I know all eyes are on USC and Oregon and Utah. But man, Jonathan Smith has turned that Oregon State program around. They eclipsed the 10-win season last year. And I'm telling you, they've got their eyes set on things higher than just winning 10 games this year. They've got their sights set on a Pac-12 championship. And here's the biggest difference I think we're going to see out of DJ this season versus his time at Clemson. Clemson runs a very plug-and-play style of offense, meaning here's what we do, plug into it, and then be better than the guy in front of you. So think of guys like Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Taj Boyd. When you have players with those skill sets, you just plug them in, you let them run the system, and when they're surrounded with some of the best athletes in the country, it just goes. Well, not only has Clemson's wide receiver production dipped a little bit since DJ's been there, but they really doesn't seem like ever tailored what they did to his skill set, or when they tried, their offense just didn't really function the way we're used to seeing those Clemson offenses function with guys like Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. So the difference is with Oregon State is Jonathan Smith, he's an offensive guru. I mean, this is a guy who is not just like a CEO type coach. I mean, he's a former quarterback. He's a former assistant of Chris Peterson. I mean, he I believe is going to take what DJ does well and really put DJ in positions to be successful all throughout the season. And if Oregon State is playing for a Pac-12 championship come December, I don't think it's crazy to think that DJ has an invite to New York City and is a part of those Heisman finalists. And at plus 8,000, that's not a bad play. Okay, moving on to number 4. I'm going with the K-State Wildcat Will Howard at plus 10,000. Listen to me. Will Howard came off the bench last year, and I've said this on a previous video. He put on a masterclass at quarterback. In conference play, in 6 conference games, he threw for 15 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. That's an incredible ratio. It was Colin Klein's first year as the play caller. So now let's fast forward to this year. It's year 1 for Will Howard as the full-time starter, not just coming off the bench and replacing the injured player, but he's had a full cycle under Colin Klein, who's now entering year 2. And I think Kansas State has the ingredients they need to repeat as Big 12 champions. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying they have the ingredients that are there. And if Will Howard can continue that momentum that he had in conference play a season ago, not only do I think Kansas State will be playing in Arlington for a Big 12 championship, but I believe that would be enough to get Will Howard an invite if his numbers stay on the trajectory that they were on a season ago. So I think we'll see him get some more rushing touchdowns this year, kind of those inside the 5, inside the 10-yard line situations. He's a big-bodied quarterback, very accurate. And, if K-State puts another season together like they did last year, minus their G5 loss, even though their G5 loss a season ago was to Tulane, and you know who else Tulane beat? Oh, yeah, the Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams. But that was after the fact in a bowl game. Anyways, I was there, by the way. Heck of a game. So to recap so far, I've got Xavier Worthy at 6,600, KJ Jefferson at 8,000, DJ, going to leave it at DJ at 8,000, Will Howard at plus 10,000, and then my final, again, this might be the longest of the long shots, but I'm going to make a case for how this kid realistically could get to NYC at these insane odds, and that's Colorado's Travis Hunter at plus 40,000. Plus 40,000. A $25 bet wins you 10 grand. Think about that for a second. Think about that. Now, there's a reason they're that high. It's because nobody on earth thinks this kid has a chance at winning the Heisman, and rightfully so. But let me just make you a small case as to how he could get there. The first thing, he's got to stay healthy, which most people are like, because he didn't play a lot last season at Jackson State. But when he did, he was an impact player. He plays both ways. So let's just, in theory, say Travis Hunter spends the whole season healthy. Okay? He gets 3 to 5 interceptions on the defensive side of the ball, and he's a lockdown corner all season. On the offensive side, he accumulates over 1,000 total yards, receiving and rushing, and gets between 8 to 12 touchdowns on that side of the ball. Then you factor in special teams, and he gets another 2 or 3 touchdowns from special teams and defensively. And you have Colorado, sitting at 9-3 at season's end. Would that be enough to get Travis Hunter an invite? Would that be enough to get him some first place votes? I mean, he's impacted the stat line all over on every side of the ball. And then his team that a season ago went 1-11 is now a 9-win team, which it's not crazy to think. It's not going to be easy, okay, for Colorado when you look at their schedule. But USC a season ago with Lincoln Riley, through one cycle of using the transfer portal, went from 4-8 to playing for a conference championship. Coach Prime has had a similar turning over of the roster as what Lincoln Riley did at USC. So I don't know. I'm looking at that. I'm like, man, that's at least worth putting $10 on, right? $20 on. So those are my 5 sort of big return bankroll plays. Those of you that got a little extra that, it's not earmarked, but it's going to go towards some play, but maybe it's $50 and you want to put it on something that might have a chance at bringing back a big time return. I would look very closely at those 5 plays. Let me know what you think. Who do you see as the best bankroll bets for the Heisman this year? I didn't really want to make this a Heisman dark horse type thing. I'm just saying, look at these odds for these particular players, and here's an argument of how they could possibly make it to NYC. Thanks for watching. That's it for me, Trey Smith with College Game Time. See y'all next time.